Okay, let's get right into it. This is a story of survival that's so incredible it's almost hard to believe. It's a real testament to what a person can endure when they have to.
So I want you to just picture this for a second. It's Christmas Eve, 1971, and you're falling 21,000 feet straight into the Amazon rainforest. How do you even begin to survive something like that?
The person at the heart of this story was just 17 years old. 17! That was Juliana Kopka's age when her entire world was, well, literally torn apart in midair. Can you even imagine? Just 17, and she was about to face something that just defies belief.
Okay, so our story actually starts not with the fall itself, but on the jungle floor, the morning after. It's that moment when she wakes up, when consciousness starts to creep back in, and that's when the real nightmare begins.
So she comes to, and just look at this list of injuries. She's alone, soaking wet, covered in mud. She's got a broken collarbone, a torn ACL, a fractured shin, a deep gash on her arm, one of her eyes is swollen completely shut, and to top it all off, she's lost her glasses. She can barely see. And this is just the beginning of her ordeal.
All right, so how on earth did she get here? What happened? We need to rewind a little bit to understand the disaster that set this whole thing in motion.
You see, it was LANSA Flight 508, and this airline, it had a really bad safety record. But Juliana and her mother, they were just desperate to get home for Christmas, to be with her dad. So against better judgment, they took the flight. And, well, that decision turned out to be a fatal one.
So they flew right into this massive thunderstorm. And then, bam! A bolt of lightning hits the right wing. The fuel tank just ignites, and the plane starts to disintegrate right there in midair. In just an instant, this holiday flight, it just turns into an absolute nightmare. A terrifying freefall as the plane is literally ripped to pieces by the storm.
And in the middle of all that chaos, Juliana heard her mother say, "That's the end, it's all over." And those were the last words she would ever hear her say. The next thing she knows, she's ejected from the plane, still strapped into her seat, just tumbling through the sky into the storm. So here she is, injured, alone, in the middle of the jungle. But here's the crazy part. Despite all the terror, all the pain, Juliana had a secret weapon. And it wasn't a knife or a compass or anything like that. It was what was in her head. It was knowledge. See, her parents were famous zoologists. They founded this biological research station called Penguana, right there in the Amazon. It's where Juliana grew up, so her entire childhood was basically a masterclass in jungle survival. It's like she wasn't just some random person lost in the jungle. In a weird way, she had fallen into her own backyard. And that knowledge, that was everything. It gave her a way to fight the panic and actually think.
And you can see it in everything she did. Look at this. She'd throw her one shoe ahead of her to check for snakes on the ground. Smart. She knew that if she followed small streams, they'd eventually lead to bigger rivers. And rivers, well, that's where you find people. And for water, she knew she could lick the raindrops right off the leaves to stay hydrated. This wasn't just luck or guesswork. This was her upbringing. It was science kicking in instead of panic.
So she has this knowledge, right? But now we're going to see how that knowledge holds up against the brutal reality of the Amazon over 11 long days.
Yeah, this journey was just a slow descent into an absolute nightmare. Day 1, she wakes up severely injured. By day 4, she finds the bodies of other crash victims. By day 9, she's starving, she's starting to hallucinate, and then, day 10, she discovers something truly horrifying on her own arm.
Yeah, that deep gash on her arm, it was now festering, and it was full of maggots, dozens of them, eating her arm from the inside out. She knew right then and there that if she didn't do something, and do it fast, this infection was going to kill her.
So what does she do? Well, she finds a small hut with a can of gasoline. And she remembers her dad once treating their dog for maggots with gasoline. So she pours the gasoline directly into her own open wound to kill them. Can you even imagine the pain? But it was an incredible act of self-preservation. And believe it or not, it worked.
It's just an unbelievable act of courage. And after that, after 11 agonizing days, her ordeal was finally about to come to an end.
On the 11th day, she stumbles upon 3 local men. And you have to see it from their perspective. They're just in the middle of the jungle, and suddenly this young blonde woman appears out of nowhere. They thought she was a water goddess, a spirit from their local legends. Once she managed to explain what had happened, they took her to safety.
And as she was rescued, the true scale of the disaster started to become clear.
There were 92 people on board that flight. 92. And that included Juliana's mother.
Out of all 92 people on that plane, only one, just one person was found alive, Juliana. It's an absolute miracle, born from a total catastrophe.
But here's where the story takes an even more tragic turn. Investigators later found out that it wasn't just Juliana who survived the fall. 14 other passengers also survived the crash itself. But they died from their injuries waiting for a rescue that just never came in time. It's just heartbreaking.
But Juliana's story, it doesn't end with her rescue. In a way, it was reborn. She went on to get her PhD in zoology, just like her parents. She dedicated her entire life to studying the very same rainforest that almost took it. She actually runs the Panguana Research Station today, continuing her parents' incredible work.
So, when you think about her story, you have to wonder about that moment with the gasoline. Could you have performed that kind of jungle surgery on yourself to survive? It's just an incredible testament, isn't it, to the power of knowledge and the sheer will to live. It really makes you think.